yes. Welcome. We are live here at According to Hip Hop.
Before we lift off, go ahead, lift off, Michael. Good.
You good? Okay. All right. Well, yeah. According to Hip Hop Live here. We're here. Myself, Mike D. We got Coop over here. We're welcoming everybody into the room. We're gonna be talking about Armani Caesar's project, The Liz, tonight. Man, how's your week been?
It's been long. I'm glad it's Friday. What about you?
Man, I'm glad it's Friday too, man. You know what I'm saying? We get to talk about some more new hip hop that's out there, man. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know, these Fridays are becoming exciting because the music has been frighteningly good and consistent lately.
Yeah,
It's given us reason to be excited and look forward to Friday even for us doing the show.
yeah,
Just as music lovers, it's like we don't get this is the first female I believe we've reviewed a
yeah,
female album that we've actually reviewed.
yeah.
And I'm excited to talk about the quality of it.
I am too, man, and it's actually pretty dope, man. Griselda
Yeah.
has brought us another
Griselda
offering.
strikes again.
Last week we had the Conway album, which Method Man rant and raved about today. What Method Man say? He said it was just one of those bar for bar you could
He
just
said
go
bar
through.
for bar, Purple Tape and Doggy Style were the comparisons, which I
Mm.
thought was, Mike, you know how I feel. I believe Doggy Style is better than The Chronic, and Purple Tape is my third best rap album ever. Doggy Style is actually not too far behind, so I think the praise is a little bit too high and too
Yeah.
early to give that kind of praise.
I think Doggy Style is a whole different conversation for a lot of different reasons. I think that it had bangers, you know. I think it's a different
That's
kind of album. I think you
act,
can actually compare the Purple Tape a little bit more, but Doggy Style is
yes.
a little different.
The content, subject matter, grittiness, lyrical capacity. Purple Tape is more comparable. Doggy Style is a whole nother animal, kind of in the same way Paid in Full is.
Yo,
You know,
man, hold on. Not to interrupt you, man. We got 278 people in the room right now. Shout out to everybody, man. What's
what's
up?
up? Hey,
What's
shout out
up
to
out there,
everybody.
man? Yeah. So if you're
Thanks for
new to
calling.
According to Hip Hop, man, we review albums that come out on Friday. Today's new music is gonna be Armani Caesar's The Liz album. We also gonna talk about Kanye West and him attempting to save artists as well. Shout out to Ernie
Yeah,
Walker in the
something like
room. We
that.
got Travis Vogel in the room. Tell us where you from out there. What's up, Rebecca? We got Lamar Brown. Okay, cool. Sorry about that, Coop. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to shout out the
No, no,
people in the
no, no,
room.
no, 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 no. You're perfectly fine. Take care of the people first, anyway. Like I'm gonna be here. Hold on. Can we just wrap up with the Conway just like briefly?
Yeah. Let's talk
It
about the
I
Conway
just
album.
I do want to say that after a week of just being able to listen to it, it's closer to Pray for Paris than I thought, and
Ooh,
that's why I would agree with Method Man about like how the praise of it should be extremely high, because I told you I think Pray for Paris is the best rap album that I've heard in the last 2 years since Daytona,
mm.
and if it's close to that. That's putting it in classic territory because after listening to it over and over again, the only difference is George Bondo, Mike. It's the only thing I can really look at.
George
And,
Bondo is
and
the difference, and you know what? I feel you because that record is hard. Yeah.
it
Do you
is.
still
And,
have? I mean, with all
and
that considered,
Jesus Crisis is my favorite rap song this year. Like my aesthetic, like what I like is
mm,
Jesus Crisis. It's like when I hear that,
man.
my sister just hit me up and said that I'm lagging live.
Yeah, you are lagging a little bit, and I think that the lagging
I,
is more due to possibly the connection or whatnot. Yeah, you're lagging a
okay.
little bit. So yeah. So um,
Yes. Shout out to my sister Michaela for keeping me on top of my game.
right. But we're gonna keep the
Right.
conversation going. We got Australia in the building. We got Douglasville, Georgia. Shout out to Canada out there. But yeah. So you still got album of the year is going to be Pray for Paris, correct?
Only
West
because
Side
of
Gun.
George Mondo at this point, though, which is why it's still the raps of the year. Because that's the only thing that I hear when I hear Spurs 3, and then I hear George Mondo. It's too big of a separation, and the albums are too comparable. Lyrically, Conway's album is better, construction wise, and beat wise, slightly. Pray for Paris is better, slightly.
Okay. Well, let's get on this Armani Caesar to drop
Let's
today.
get on the
For,
scene. Look, staying all in the family.
Right. For y'all that don't
Right.
know, Armani Caesar is the first lady of Griselda, correct? Is there any dispute there? First lady of Griselda. She
No.
dropped her debut album today. And so, what are your thoughts on The Liz by Armani Caesar so far?
I have a lot of thoughts as usual. Immediately after I listened to this album and we got done like listening to the tracks where she's done with the features, which is Westside, Conway, Benny.
Right.
I thought to myself, part of the reason why I always love Foxy Brown so much is because to this day, no female ever rapped with as many male heavyweights as Foxy did. That's why she was always my favorite.
Yeah.
And hearing her on this album hold her own with the likes of them is very, very reminiscent of that. Not as good because she doesn't have Foxy delivery or lyricism. And these guys, as great as they are, aren't like Nas or Jay, because that's literally a lot of people's 1 and 2 in terms of like greatest MCs ever.
Right.
But I was highly impressed with how she held her own, and even more surprised at the fact that really most of the highlights on this album is a solo mission. You know, it's like the tracks with the guys are dope, but I mean, I think Drill Arama with Benny is arguably the best song on here. But Yum Yum, Ginger Rothstein, Palm Angels, Countdown with the Redman sample.
Yeah.
It's go hard, Mike. I told you, Ginger Rothstein's a classic.
I think Ginger Rothstein is probably the best song on there. I like Ginger Rothstein a lot, and I also like Drillorama with Benny, and I also like the one with Premier. The Premier produced Simply Simply Done. I'm tripping.
So her and Benny have chemistry. That's one of my takeaways from this album when I said I had a lot to unpack about it. That was one of the things that I realized when I heard them on Drillorama. It made me smile. It's like they have a chemistry together. They sound good together. Like the tracks Drillorama and Simply Done, like really give this album its put into the latter stages and make you like excited about continuing to listen to it. So it was like very well placed, and the songs are great. Those are 2 of the 5 best songs on here.
Well, you know what? This is my take. This is my take from the album. I think it flows really well. I think that if you're looking for something like super lyrical, it's probably not that, but I think the production's on point. I don't think that the lyrics are bad on any level, but I think that it flows very well. The tracks sound good. And maybe I shouldn't say lyrics, because she's spitting, I think, is subject matter that might, get certain people. That could be redundant there. But I think that the album flows extremely well from intro to outro. I think the length of it is perfect. I think that it's a good listen, man. Like I remember listening to it last night. When I was listening to it last night, I was just riding to it really, and I was like, wow, it was over already. And it wasn't because it was short. It was because it just flowed so well. And it sounds so good. And, I think Westside Gunn strikes again. Did he executive produce this?
I mean, it just sounded like it to me when I heard the beat selection. The beat selection said Westside Gunn executive produced it the same way that you feel about From a King to a God. There are a couple of tracks on there where I'm like, yeah, that's Westside saying, like, take that track instead of that track. And this kind of had the same feel in a good way. You're saying it flows, and this is just me being super critical. Just for me, I feel like this album would have been compelling if we were to put Ginger Rothstein at track 2, has the lead off, and the move Countdown to the end at track 10.
Okay.
I think both of those songs are dope, but I think this album has a more epic feel. Because think about it, you go into Ginger Rothstein, and then you go into the Mac 10s with Westside, then you go into the Liz and Gucci Caskets, which are both dope.
Right.
And then Drillorama, Simply Done, like it for me, that was the only like sequence misstep that I saw that could be done better. I would just swap those 2 tracks out. Everything else, I feel like, and not that it didn't flow well, Mike. It did flow well.
Right.
I think that just would have set it off more, because it's like you said, Ginger Rothstein and Drillorama are probably the 2 best songs on here. Do we agree about that?
Yeah, those are strong records, and they should have been probably at the forefront.
So, well, no. I'm cool where Drillorama is at 6 because it still has
6 is
what I
cool.
like to call second or third single potential to it. Like, I
Right.
can see that being next. They just continuing what they're doing with the Simply Done video that they just dropped.
Right.
But I would have started off with Ginger Rothstein. That's the strongest record. I think it just would have made the album feel more like, you know.
I think the interludes are really good too. I think that the skits and I mean,
I think they're funny.
again, it has West Side Gun written all
That's
over it.
West Side too. Yeah, that's West Side too. The skit selection is flawless on here. When you're talking about the content and the subject matter, I'm going to tell you what came to mind, and maybe this is just a part of me that spent most of my life in Atlanta. She strikes me as somebody that really, and she talks about it briefly on a couple of records. You said, Mike, that she's kind of like talking the way a dude does. It's like she's really not talking like a dude, Mike. All bullshit aside, she's talking like a stripper not too far removed from the pole that knows how the game go.
Yeah, I think they set that off with the intro too.
Yeah, and I think, and I think there's something that's more authentic about it, which is what makes it more of a listen. Like, a lot of chicks talk like this, but she can kind of, she's like the rest of Griselda. You can kind of tell from the way she's talking. It's like, no, she's lived this a little more, and it kind of made me excited about what they can do to unpack her a little bit more, because she really didn't give you any more about her personal life at all, other than the fact that she used to dance.
But you know what? That's a real good assessment. The fact that this is more of an introduction, and this gives her room to actually tell us a little bit more.
It gives her room to tell her story. That's what I mean. It's like she's just stepping off the stage and onto another stage, and that's what this album is to me. And so she's talking like she was telling, like, get more money on stage than these niggas on the avenues. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you know the game, Mike, and like chicks that know say that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I think I'm personally giving it about 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a very, very good debut. I think that it's interesting to add this to the Griselda fold, because now I'm interested in hearing her on records with them even more, because now we kind of know a little bit about her as opposed to just that. Because my first time hearing her was on that West Side Gun, Fly God 2. Was that your first time hearing her too?
No.
You heard her before? That stood out to me.
I felt like I had caught wind of something before that. I would have to go back and see what it was. It may be before she was even tied to them, truthfully.
Okay.
But
this is a new her, though. This is a new her, because I heard some of the stuff before that. So the album that we heard, the introduction to that may have been on Fly God too. Because I can't. Yeah.
That's fair. That's her Griselda introduction, so to speak. I guess, so to speak. Yum Yum and Drillorama are gonna bang in the clubs down here, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like the after hour spots. R.I.P. to Follies.
Oh yeah. I heard Follies went down, man. I heard they've been fighting that for a minute.
They used to be a personal favorite in my heyday, Mike.
Yeah, I think the city of Chamblee out here in Atlanta, for everyone that doesn't know, in Atlanta is one of the famous strip clubs. Follies has closed its doors for good. I don't think it had anything to do with, the pandemic probably didn't help, but I think that the city was trying to get rid of that anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's very problematic.
Yeah. And so they've been trying to fight it, from what I'm understanding. It's very little literature out there on it too. You look for articles that actually talk about it.
This Bible Belt of a state, they really don't like profit margins now, do they? So back to the music, but Yum Yum and Drillorama are like club bangers down here in the A, if you feel what I'm saying. Gucci Casket with Conway, I thought I like that, because that how about this album, like, Ginger Rothstein is a little Kim side to her, but then there's like Gucci Casket, and that's the Foxy Brown side of her there. It's like she can stand next to a great MC and great lyricist and still sound great in her own right. Like, a lot of people prefer Lil' Kim, but Lil' Kim only really rhymed with Big. That's the only great MC she ever rhymed with. You got to think about this. Foxy was rhyming with Nas and Jay in their primes as a teenager.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Now that you say that, you like Foxy more than Kim, or?
I've always liked Foxy more than Kim, Mike. I told you last week, Foxy was my favorite female MC growing up. Like for me, on a personal level, it's like Lauren, MC Light, and Foxy.
Listen. All right, this is the thing.
And if we're talking delivery, she's number one. If we're talking impact, Light is number one. If we're talking skills, Lauren's number one. Those three.
I think impact, man. We got to give Kim the most impactful. Kim changed everything. Kim changed everything. I think Kim is the most impactful female artist ever.
Light paved the way for there to be a female in a crew of guys. That wasn't happening before.
Okay, I can give you that. I can give you that.
When you say that, it's kind of like, well, Little Kim's kind of here because Light and Latifah could rhyme with the guys.
But those are two different impacts, right? Kim's impact was for women to not have.
Who created a bigger? Hold on. So if she created the wave that created a bigger wave.
What Kim created was the fact that women could actually look like women and still rhyme on the mic. That's what Kim created, Foxy, and that changed everything.
When you say that, I hear what you're saying, except for the fact that Foxy was always right there too and has a better delivery and was rhyming against tougher competition consistently. Like she rhymed with Nas, Jay-Z, and AZ with consistency, and that's not counting like other opinions. No, I mean, Kim. It's like hardcore is better than anything Foxy's ever made.
Okay, I'm glad you know that. MC. But what I'm saying is, as far as impact goes, that was Kim's lane, and Foxy was kind of teetering.
The impact belongs to Kim.
Foxy was teetering that line of doing a little bit of what Kim was doing and doing a little bit of what the other rappers are traditionally doing.
That's what I'm saying. Foxy was too gutter to be that impactful. She was still kind of on her street shit. That's why Armani reminds me of her, because there's not any really Little Kim. Like there's no time on here. And they
I will give you that.
Her make a no time.
I will give you that. Armani reminds me more of Foxy than she does Kim, but this project reminds me more of hardcore than Foxy's debut, Il Nana.
And it's And how about this? Do you think this is better than Il Nana?
From what I'm hearing so far, yes. I'll go back and listen again, but from what I'm hearing,
she's still not Foxy on the mic, but this project is better because it's put together very hardcore-ish.
I can listen to this project, and and it might sound controversial, but I don't go to my whip and put in women, female MCs albums and ride. There's only one album I really, really do that with, and that was Rod Digger's Dirty Harriet. I love that album. So, I listen to Dirty Harriet like I listen to everything else.
I actually got stuck in traffic on 285 today playing this, and I got stuck playing Drillorama, Simply Dumb, Yum Yum, and Palm Angels, and I was actually like riding to it until the traffic broke up.
Yeah.
And I felt fine. I mean, beat selection matched with that, but it's like you said, she's not really talking like a female. There's something very hustler-ish about how she's talking.
Yeah, it's a dope record. I can listen to it.
Like,
shout out to Nicole in the room.
Like a stripper who's a hustler on top of her game, and it's like chicks be talking like that haven't lived it the way she's talking. You're like, oh no, she's lived it, and it makes it more authentic. The beat selection is good. The crew is running rap shit. Actually, Mike, I thought about this. I think enough of this project that I think it might be. And this is saying a lot because people don't really understand how many projects they've dropped in their camp this year.
Yeah.
I think this might be the third or fourth best project in their camp. Like, it's not Pray for Paris or From King to a God or Fly God 2. So I would put it fourth.
You know what? I will say this. After thinking about it and after further investigation, it's not too far back from Fly God 2. I like Fly God 2 because of the production and the approach that he put forth, production-wise. And it was really like some underground stuff. But as far as like what this one does from end to end, I might put this ahead of Fly God 2. And I like Fly God 2 a lot.
What Fly God 2
what up,
really
Damaris?
The precursor to say what?
Oh no, I was shouting out people in the room. I'm sorry. You're lagging a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all
Fly
good.
God 2 was really the precursor. If you go back and listen to Fly God 2 now, it's really the precursor to the sound of what Conway and Armani's project is going to sound like. So the reason that those projects sound better is I think he just went in and had fun making Fly God 2 and perfected the next wave of their sound. I was actually thinking about, people, Boldy James from Detroit dropped the Versace tape not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of compare this to the Versace tape in the sense of like it's a really quality, like 3.5. to 4 project that a lot of people may not know about. But you know, people need to get acquainted with Armani. I can see her having a career, and I love how they dressed her up. Like you and I just talked about the whole Elizabeth thing with the whole Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah,
I like how they played twofold, because it's like when I heard Liz, it's like the first thing that I thought. I mean, I'm from Charlotte, Mike, so I went straight to the wrestling like Elizabeth shit. But then I started thinking. Like, cause like true story, my mom's like one of those black women that used to wear white diamonds. I was like, oh, do they mean Liz Taylor? I was like, but what if they do both and like use the Elizabeth skits, but like dress her up like Liz Taylor, and that's what they did. And I'm like, oh, he's a genius.
Yeah,
they played this perfectly.
What do you think about the album cover? Since we're talking about that, I mean, I'm gonna go to the album cover.
That's
where
what
it has,
I mean. I love the album cover.
But the third eye is what I was gonna ask you about. That part of it.
The what? The third eye?
Yeah, the third eye on the album cover.
So what? So I mean, what do you mean? What do I think of?
I mean, what do you think of the? I mean, what do you think of the significance of that? Like, what actually was that? It's like, is that a woke Liz or something?
I think that's like a "we have arrived" type of statement too. You know, they're artistic and creative, so they're saying like that could be his like little inside joke. Like, we making Illuminati money now.
Gotcha.
We making that Liz Taylor money.
Okay.
Like, we on the inside now. Like, we tied to Jay, we tied to Dre, we tied to M. Like, we part of the game, you know?
I mean, man, they're having a hell of a year, man. That 2018 was crazy, but, you know, as far as Fly God 2, Pray for Paris, From a King to a God, and the Liz, and what we got next week? What's coming out next week? Is that West Side's project is next week?
Who made the sunshine?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows with them, Mike? Like, I don't know. And here's another thing that I love about them, and here's what I mean about how they're running this rap shit.
Yeah.
The last 2 days, straight promo for the Liz. Like, on all their pages, like the Griselda Records page, West page, Conway page, Benny page, Armani page. We got a shout out from Armani, according to Hip Hop.
Shout out to Armani.
We're talking about her album about the drop. Shout out to Armani.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out to her for shouting us out. We appreciate the look.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just on their shit. It's like when I heard the Liz, you know what I really thought to myself after watching how they promoted it just on social media the last 2 days. I was thinking about on Jesus Crisis when Conway said, making money off of T-shirts really wasn't in the plans. But you know, every time a bag drop off, I'm picking up $200,000. I was like, they're on their hustle shit with how they put the Liz together. Like, there could be shirt for the cover. Armani, I mean, let's call it what it is too. Armani's bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? They dressed her up and dolled her up properly. They made her look like Ginger Rothstein. Like, Mike, they made her look like Ginger Rothstein and actually made a song called Ginger Rothstein, and it's the best song on the album. Click, 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 bang.
Yeah, man. I like I said, man, I'm all smiles. I'm excited about everything that they got going on.
I'm excited. Like, how about this?
They making hip hop exciting, man.
When's the last time you heard a female's artist debut project and you were immediately excited about the next project?
Yeah.
I'll wait for it. Like, when's the last time? Because the last time I remember feeling that way is after I heard hardcore. I was like, ooh, where Kim going next?
But you know what? This kind of feels like I know I brought up Rod Digger, but this kind of feels like how Rod Digger is there with the flip mode, right? And they gradually pushed her into that solo. But, you know, flip mode didn't have like a crew that's doing what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
This was more about Busta Rhymes, and everybody in flip mode could rhyme. So don't get it twisted. But Busta Rhymes was just such a polarizing figure in his own right that I don't think everybody got that proper release like that. But these guys are doing something different. I don't know if I can't think of anybody who's done anything like this, because with the Fugees, with Lauren, it was kind of about Lauren anyway. We were waiting on her to go solo. I'm trying to think, man. Like, maybe this is a Kim comparison, but that was Kim and Big.
No, that's not a fair comparison.
It's not,
because the crew as a whole is not as strong outside of Kim and Big.
Right.
I always feel like Flip Mode could rhyme. Like, Lord Have Mercy to me was always dope.
Yeah.
But wasn't Digga the second best MC in that crew after Bust?
I don't know, man. Are we counting like Rock Marciano and stuff? Like, cause he was in the group. Rock Marciano is crazy. So I don't know.
You think he was better than Digga, like when he
Oh
was
yeah,
coming in?
yeah. I mean, if he wasn't then, he definitely is now. And that's no
I mean,
disrespect to
he is
Digga, and I
now, but
love
we're
Digga.
talking about then. Hold on, we're talking about then when it was happening.
Right,
I'm
right, right.
saying that to say that it's like that's what I mean. It's like these aren't. I mean, Buster's an all-time great MC. That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like Benny and Conway lyrically right now are good as it gets, and she's going back and forth with one,
Yeah.
trading 24 bars with the other one. I mean. But that's not regular female MC stuff. Regular female MCs can't hold their own like that. So is she Fox Kim on the mic? Not yet. But that's what I mean when I say I'm excited, because I see somebody that can be. She may not be the natural or raw talent that they are, but the way that they've cultivated her and the way that she sounds and some of the things that I saw in her ability to put a story together, some of her cleverness, I was like, oh yeah.
Listen, she sounds good on the mic, and she sounds good over that production. And so the only thing from here is just to be better lyrically.
And they're not hiding her sexiness or her sex appeal, but I don't feel like they're over glorifying her either. There have been a couple things. How about this? All the stuff that I feel like may be over glorified is actually the stuff that she's posted personally, not the stuff that they've put out.
Yeah.
So they've done a great job of like it being set. Like it. How about this? It's more tastefully done than hardcore was.
I think so too.
Hardcore had a little bit of a hardcore felt a little raunchy when it came out, Mike. Remember?
Hardcore was raunchy.
This didn't feel raunchy at all. This felt kind of like they set up the expectation like Liz Taylor, like classy bitch. Like
you said, this was more of a female hustler, and however, people want to take that, but that's what this was, and they depicted that perfectly.
I would love to see her do like a mixtape series, the Ginger Chronicles, like play off the Ginger Rothstein and have the mixtape start off with the Ginger Rothstein beat, and she can go into a whole mixtape series and like play that role while she preps the next shit,
Before we go on to the next subject, man, like let me ask you this: like, where do you see her being placed in the echelon of current female MCs in the game right now? You think she's gonna get that kind of look that the Megans, Rhapsodies, and women of that ilk get?
That depends on how you want to frame it. She's not better than Rhapsody as an MC, if that's what you think, and she's not necessarily a hit maker like Meg is, but Mike, she's more exciting and more intriguing than both, actually. You know what I mean? Like she's got more. That's what I mean. There's something about her that's like a little bit really authentic and naturally edgy. Like Rhapsody is like, she's kind of very like Talib Kweli-ish female, I guess I would say. You know what I'm saying? Very well respected, admired, makes great records, but maybe doesn't get all the notoriety. Meg is more of a hit maker. She's neither one of those things, but she's a little bit of both. But she's got her own thing going on, and that's why I want to hear more of her, because I think she has a story, Mike, and her telling more of the story with these guys behind her is going to put her in position to kind of carve out her own lane in the game.
I totally agree.
So I'm excited for her.
I'm excited. I'm giving it, our first listen, I'm giving it 3.5. I think it was a dope effort. Very good debut. Like you said, room for growth and room for us to know a little bit more about Armani Caesar as the efforts go along. Now, have you been...
I felt like she was going to have a career after I listened to this and not just have like an album or two and then she kind of fades into oblivion. I feel like she has like a future.
I think so too. And I think Griselda knows what they're doing. They actually make really great projects and well put together projects. They know when to make something for the streets and they know when to make something for everybody else.
Hey, you know what? They're doing what No Limit did. They're just making better albums.
It's a different, it's the same hustle mentality. It's
the same hustle though. It's P's hustle. That's why P's the best hustler ever. He's the real blueprint, but never what. And I don't mean that as like disrespect to Jay. I just mean like in terms of like, how to like authenticate yourself and really make and diversify your money in this game. Like I'm just starting to see the Master P and what they're doing. Like, they're on project. Like they're literally been about 7 or 8 projects out of this camp in 8 or 9 months. So they're literally dropping a project every month.
Yeah. Well, speaking of speaking of Blueprint and Jay, you been hearing about what Kanye's got going on this week?
I've heard some of it. You and I have talked briefly. Where you want to start? Because typical gay, he's all over the place.
Well, all right. Let's start with the fact that Kanye West is trying to get artists out of their label situations in a sense of actually having ownership in their music and in their craft. He's going about it from the top. I think it's a very interesting thing also, the fact that Kanye West is, he's a billionaire now, multi-billionaire off of his Yeezy brand. And congratulations to him on that. But he wants to use that place that he has in just our ecosystem to free artists from their contracts and have artists owning their own stuff. I guess we could start this right here. His first tweet, I think it was somewhere along the lines of he needs to get him, Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick in the same room so they could talk about getting free from these labels.
Okay, why those guys?
Well, those are the I guess those are the top guys. We talked about that last week. And I think that he probably mentioned those guys. Not according to me. But I think he mentioned those guys because he probably has an idea of what their deals look like. And it was kind of a... It's kind of a...
I hadn't thought of it that way.
It's kind of a like... it was almost kind of a jab in a sense too, where it's like,
right. Like, first of all, he knows that J. Cole signed the Rock Nation. I think we can get into the whole Jay thing in a minute. So he probably knows that deal may not be optimal. I think Drake's record contract issues have been discussed in thoroughness by Pusha T.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure they're privy to his situation too, and that's also a Universal situation. That's the same company that Kanye's dealt with too.
Wow. So there you have it. I mean that would make more sense if you're talking about from the business side of things. Like he might know, like, look, hey, your top guys ain't making shit either. Mm-hmm. Not like they should at least.
Well, what I find really interesting is the fact that he put that out there, whether that was genuine or whether that was Kanye doing something for an attention grab, whatever people want to say. Not many artists stepped up and got behind him on this, and it's like, dude, I'm doing this for you.
He's not wrong fundamentally for what he's thinking or what he's saying, though.
He's not.
Do you want to, let's explore what a 50-50 deal entails, prior to the 360 deal even coming into play in hip hop, Mike. First of all, when it's 50-50, it's really not 50-50. It's really more like 75-25.
Well, whoever puts up the money puts up the money. We were talking about that interview I did with Kwame a couple of months back. We posted that on According to Hip Hop. And basically what Kanye was, not Kanye, Kwame was saying was the fact that you get a loan, in short, you get a loan. Well, basically, no. The company approaches the artist, buys rights to your intellectual property, right? And so they give you that loan, and you're basically paying on something that they already purchased from you.
You're paying on something that belongs to you.
Yeah.
So
it belonged to you.
The record company is worse than is worse than the NCAA and the federal government taxation system combined.
Well,
that's how bad record labels in the music industry is. Rule 4080.
You know what it reminded me of, though, when Kanye was saying all of this stuff and none of the artists were saying anything. Everybody's been silent. It reminded me of when Colin Kaepernick first went out there and did his kneeling, and no one did anything. People would ask about it. I remember when they asked Steph Curry, because he's in the Bay Area. This was right before the NBA season started. They asked him if he was going to stand for the pledge. He was like, "Yes, I'm standing for the pledge. I don't know this guy. I've never met him." All this stuff. LeBron did that too. And it's 2-3 years later, everybody's
You know,
locked in arms and stuff, and it's like this is what this reminds
I,
me
I
of.
mean, Ali was vilified, Mike. People forget that.
Yeah,
He went on
but
to become arguably the greatest icon ever. I mean, him and Michael Jordan, arguably. But also, too, let's not forget that there's this guy named Prince that kind of covered this before and got called crazy. And even as somebody that grew up being a fan of his, I can remember when he went on the whole slave symbol thing. I was like, fuck's going on with my guy?
well, it's interesting that you mentioned Prince because Prince, not to compare Kanye to Prince in that way,
No,
but
in this
I think in this situation though, Kanye is
it's
not only an artist, he's a producer as well. So he creates from, even though he samples and stuff, he creates from the ground up. And so he should have a lot more ownership in these records than a lot of these artists.
Well,
and
it's
so
not
he
even
takes
that,
it
Mike.
personally.
No, it's all of those things and what you're saying and then some. It's actually also too that Prince didn't start saying those things until he had the power and the money to say those
Right.
things and be able to survive and thrive independently of the music business. You dig what I'm saying?
Kanye took a lot under the chin too, from the Ghost production, and if what's being said is true, what was reported, well, he put the contracts out there. Basically, Kanye tweeted all of his contracts out on Twitter. And one that really stuck out to people was the fact that in one of the articles of the contract, it noted that basically Jay-Z, well, it says, all right, Kanye's contract summary, a part of the inducement which Kanye had to sign to get his advance. This shows that Jay-Z sold the masters to the first 6 Kanye West albums just so he could get his own back. He did so knowing that Def Jam wouldn't sell them back to Kanye in the future. Listen, and you always hear people in these in comment sections and all that talk about well, buy your masters. No, they have to sell them to you. You can't just go out there and say, I'm going to buy something that's not for sale. You know what I'm saying? That's like you come up to me and say, hey, Mike, I'm buying your car. No. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So,
it's not for sale, bro.
So, Mike, let me get this straight. He pretty much took Kanye's life work and auctioned it off so he could have his, huh?
That's what it sounds like, man. And that's a dirty game,
I'm just
man.
gonna keep on sipping what's in the cup. All right, I just want to make
and the fact that Kanye went out there and did the Watch the Throne and all that stuff and all the tours, knowing that fact, I mean, Kanye's taking a lot under the chin, and it's obviously his behavior is erratic to people, but do people know what having to deal with something like that's like? And I think that's one of the reasons why Kanye put that lawsuit out there where he was saying that he revitalized Jay-Z's career.
Hold on. When you're saying dealing with what that's like what exactly? This is what I mean. The thing with Kanye, we've talked about so many different things already as it pertains to him. It's like, well, Mike, what exactly is he dealing with? What is the crux of this issue?
The crux of this issue is lack of ownership. And we get it. When you sign a record deal, you don't have that level of ownership. And I think that he's dealt with that. And that's why he went the path that he went when it came to fashion, to make sure that he could have as much ownership as possible. And he leveraged his fame that the music got him to get this empire going. And I think that he is thinking to reach back and actually do something about those situations, because when you look at it now, artists don't really need the machine in the way that they needed when him and 50 and all those guys dropped. So I think in his mind, he feels like just based on what he's putting out there, he feels like there shouldn't be any more of those contracts out there like this.
Can I submit something to you, because he is thinking about those things and like I said, fundamentally admirable. I think sometimes he's become in our eyes, such a shell of who he used to be, and also to who we want him to be, that sometimes we don't take him as seriously as we should because he says so much. I think he may have cried wolf too much for some people, so to speak. But also, too, you want to know what I hear? I hear a grown man who has a family, and for whatever people may want to take of it, he's looking at how he lived and how his family lives, and he's thinking, well, what's going to sustain that shit when I'm gone? And that's where your publishing and your masters come in. And if you go look at his first 6 albums, oh, well, that's more than enough to sustain Northwest, Southwest, East Coast, West Coast Killer, all the kids, Mike. So he's also talking like a grown-ass man, and I think people are missing that part of it. That's the part of it that I connect to as well. It's like, I mean, you and me have talked behind the scenes, Mike. We've been offered bad contracts before. We already know that. Anybody that's ever dealt with the music business already knows that that part about it is screwed up. Let's also acknowledge the fact that he's talking like a grown man that's actually talking about his family security without telling you that, because he has so much money. If he says it like that, it's gonna be like, oh, well, nigga, you got money. It's like, well, yeah, that really ain't about that. Like, my kids deserve to eat off my legacy more than the motherfuckers kids who run Universal deserve to eat off
That's
that
exactly,
shit. And he's right.
That's exactly what he's saying. And he mentioned his kids. He wants to leave his
I
catalog
wish,
to his...
I wish that something that I put out into this world, Mike, that could allow my daughter to have a better life would go to feed somebody else's kid. Oh, Mike, I'm going out here about that shit.
I think anybody would. I think anybody would, and that's all he's saying. And you know, and when you talk about creators, and you know, we're talking about music, but creators in specific, it's intellectual property, right? And he's talking about being able to have residuals off of your intellectual property, which you should. He made those records famous.
I mean, I don't even... I want you to understand, this business is so convoluted that there are people, for how long the music business that have been around, are literally still trying to tell mostly our people that this shit is okay. It's not, and it's never been. They literally have constructed this business from the ground up to rape black people financially for their intellectual property. Period.
Well, you know what's interesting to me too, that now that you mentioned that, I know Puff was doing that speech at the Grammys where he was talking about black excellence, basically talking about the same thing you just said, with black artists who were getting jerked out of their music and their ownership. And he said that the Academy had 365 days to get it together or something. And my thing is like, well, Kanye is speaking out, and why hasn't even Puff, you know, got out there and championed what Kanye is saying? Because everything that Kanye's saying,
he's a perpetrator, Mike. He's a perpetrator.
It comes across as a bit.
He better not say anything about what Kanye is saying about artists not owning stuff. Like, how can he?
But he's already done that. He did that at the Academy.
We have the dichotomy of another problem, because now we have a section of black men like Puff and like Jay that it's like, yeah, they're entities and global and iconic and very intelligent businessmen, but they also took the white man's game and then pretty much enforced it on their own people. So what's the difference between you and Clive Davis and Tommy Mottola exactly?
Well, actually, it's
same. It comes because I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay that my brother bends me over and fucks me, right? Like,
well, no, I think it's a little different. I think that it is. You're almost like the middleman now. Like, you are the one that's kind of helped leading the sheep to slaughter. You're leading because the money's coming from Tommy Mottola and Clive Davis. Yeah.
How about this? How about this, Mike? For all that they have taken from black artists themselves as black businessmen, they should be doing all the charitable things that they're doing and then some. So I'm not giving those motherfuckers credit for shit anytime they pop up and do anything that's credible for our community, because I know what time it is and I know what they've taken already as well. So spade's a spade.
Well, when Puff went out there and said what he said at the Academy, and then Mace basically called him out and called him a hypocrite because he wouldn't sell him his catalog back. See, now that's the thing too. Mace offered to buy his own catalog back from Puff. Puff would not sell it to him, according to Mace. I'm just reporting the news, right?
Put somebody a hypocrite though, so there goes the credibility issue though.
Yeah, and this is the thing, man. Like, Mace's catalog ain't that long, really. Let's be real. And how much money does Mace's catalog really make, Puff? He could have sold that man his catalog, man. Come on, man.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, Harlem World sold 4 million copies, and I believe Double Up, even though it was a flop, still did 2 million. So that's 6 million albums that got sold in 2 records. So
no, I'm just talking about on residual.
That's not counting like the No Way Out stuff. So there's some stuff there.
Well,
he 7 million albums. So he had a hand in about 15 to 20 million albums getting sold, Mike. That ain't no chump change.
I think that, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. I guess I interpreted Mace as saying that he wanted his solo stuff. But maybe he does want some of that No Way Out stuff that he penned. So
I mean, most of the money would be in the No Way Out stuff, I would think.
But a lot of the No Way Out stuff, that was Sauce Money. And Sauce Money got beef with Puff, too, because of that, too. So, but anyway, I mentioned that.
Didn't he? Didn't he have beef with Jay, too?
Yeah. I mentioned that situation.
I wonder about what, Mike?
I mentioned that situation because Puff didn't even respond to Mace. So I don't know if Jay's even going to respond to what Kanye has put out there. Do you think he'll respond to it?
No, they're above reproach with a lot of things now too, but that's our fault too. Like, we've deified them instead of like humanizing the things that they've done wrong. We've deified all the things that they've done right and all the money and the accolades that they've incurred.
Yeah.
And we have created people who think that they are above or beyond reproach even in their own community and don't even feel the need to respond to most of the stuff. It's like, well, I'm too big at this point for you to tussle with me about it anyway. Thanks, though.
Right. No, you're completely right.
Hold on, Mike, a la Oprah.
Yeah. I mean, you're completely right.
Gang.
So, yeah. I think Kanye, would it be safe to say that Kanye might be the biggest hip-hop artist ever? He's up there. As far as, like, just a notable name, I've always said Snoop Dogg is probably the most famous rapper ever. But I think Kanye is getting up there. I don't think there's anybody that you could say Kanye's name to in the world that wouldn't know who you're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair, Mike.
So with him being that big of a figure, I think that someone's going to have to say something.
How about this? I don't know if we've ever had a figure be as big as he is globally as long while they were alive, because the first person I thought of was Pac, and I'm thinking, well, a lot of that was posthumous too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely within the black community, but the whole global part that you're talking about just being like do niggas in Paris know Kanye, and in Tokyo, Australia.
And whether people know him through, the Kardashian family, whatever, they know him.
I thought about the Kardashian thing plays a hand in it. The Jay-Z connection plays a hand in it. Him himself and the things that he's saying, that George Bush doesn't care about black people, Hurricane Katrina. That's
the Taylor Swift.
That's his tipping point. Hold on, that's his tipping point. I always tell people that's the tipping point. That's when Kanye was like, how big is my bank account? Run it.
I remember when George Bush was coming out of office and they were asking him about, the memorable moments when he was in office, and a lot happened while he was in office in those 8 years. But Kanye's name got mentioned. He was like, Kanye said.
He became something a little bit bigger than his hip hop star status was when he did that.
Yeah.
And so he can't be the biggest. You're right. I would say him and Snoop, Mike.
Yeah, I think it might be the biggest artist ever.
Eminem,
Pac,
I would still lean on Snoop because Snoop is so organically ingrained in everybody's mind for so many reasons. Like organically. Like Even with Kanye, it's like you have to think about the Kardashians. You have to think about the controversial things. Snoop shit has kind of been like carefully designed and woven into the fabric of society.
I will
He like
say
slowly
this.
has pimped the game quietly.
I think that Kanye means more to this generation of artists than than anybody else. And it's interesting that pool of artists that he mentioned when we said Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. A lot of them owe their careers to the lane that he carved out too.
Oh, Mike.
Actually,
Mike,
all of
since
them.
we're talking, oh, Mike, and you make a very valid point. Since we're talking about artist empowerment, who's the first big rap artist to really jump ship and go to another major label?
Was it Snoop? No? What are you talking about? Okay.
So he's important to his generation too. The Death Row to No Limit move, that had never been done before.
Nah, that was a free agency move.
Hold on. That opened up a lot of doors to a lot of the cross-label movement that you see now. That never happened until he did that. Him and Master P, or that's what I'm saying. Snoop is important on that hip-hop level, like Kanye is too, in terms of what he empowered a generation of artists to do. Because when people seen Snoop jump ship to Death Row and literally said, I made more money off one album with Master P than everything that you just heard me make with Death Row, which is literally some of the best rap shit ever, Mike.
And some of the biggest rap music ever too. They made a lot of money. They made somebody a lot of money.
Mike, he's the first rap artist to go number one on the charts, and he is telling you, I made more with Master P off one album that really didn't have that many jams on it.
Right.
And I did the whole time I was over there, Mike. That's game changing.
Yeah.
Like you think everybody else would? You think every other rapper that really wasn't eating the way that they should wasn't looking at Snoop 5 million off of Doggy Style selling ass and being like, what?
Do you think there are going to be? You think there are going to be any artists to actually stand by Kanye on this?
I hope so, but I don't know.
I think a lot of people might be in their contracts where they can't say anything, but it's
a lot of people off too, Mike. That'd be one of the things. That's what I'm saying about the crying wolf. It's like he's like,
But I don't know, man. I'm one of those people where I feel like I could separate, like, yo, we don't agree on basketball, but we're agreeing on what's going on in football. Those other things that people disagree with him on, that's something else. That's fine. Yeah. Are you right or are you wrong? You know what I mean?
You know what, Mike? I'm going to say this because it's been told to me. I'm one of those people, too. He's one of those people that strikes a chord with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though those issues you're talking about may not be relatable, when you're the type of person that strikes a chord with people, it lingers. And so what you're seeing in terms of, I guess, the lack of artist response is some lingering effects of the chords that he struck with people. And he has to live with those things.
I believe that some of those artists are probably reaching out to him privately. Probably just not putting it out there. Yeah. Because I don't see how they wouldn't. He put all his contracts out there. He put it all on the table. And
I mean, no, he like I'm on Kanye's side about it the same way when I got educated as a young man about like what Prince was really talking about. It's like you and I just had this conversation. If you look at the money that Prince and Michael Jackson actually should have made, like those motherfuckers could have been buying football and basketball teams without anybody's help. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where this goes.
They could have literally made billions off of music, Mike.
Yeah. Billions are being made off of music, so it's possible. You know, they'll tell people that artists can't make whatever, but, you know. Oh, okay, Andre's saying that Talib Kweli said something. Okay. Well, Talib Kweli has been banned from Twitter, so I guess I didn't catch that. But we'll put that out there, what Talib is doing to support that. And I think that's great, man. I think that what Kanye's doing on this level is great. Hopefully more artists will stand up. I'm interested to see if Jay-Z is going to address, what those papers said. I don't think he could go without addressing this. Because I think a lot of people's opinion...
Hold on, Mike. For all his wealth and power and influence, and this is just probably what Kanye is thinking. Wasn't there a way for him to get what he wanted without putting Ye's albums up like that? Don't you think there was another way?
Was it? Because at the end of the day, like I said, this isn't one of those things where like you go to the store and I could buy my catalog. If you own my catalog,
Mike, he's not rich. He's got the type of wealth that he's like, well, I'll tell you what, you want to know what? Like, I'm not going to give you Ye's album, but you know what I mean? You can have 5% of Tidal's profit margins from this year to this year, and then you know, it becomes a subsequent check for this, you know, for moving forward instead, because it's really boiling down money. And all I'm saying is that he has the type of money. He's not rich, Mike. He's wealthy.
It's not about money.
Mike, when you're wealthy, it's different. And the weight of what you can do is different, even from being rich.
I understand what you're saying. Cool.
So he had to put Ye's, with all his wealth and influence and different ways to work and pimp the game, and him being the hustler that he is, he couldn't have found a better way than putting Ye's 6 albums up.
He probably didn't choose to do that.
We got to start calling a spade a spade.
No. I feel you.
He played his brother.
I feel you. Well, his alleged brother. But I feel you. But what I'm saying too, I do feel like
Damon Big's brother.
I do feel like the people who did own those masters, they enjoyed seeing Jay make that deal more. It wasn't about the money for them. They got money. They're super wealthy. They're not trying to do no deals with you. They'll tell you what it is, and you either do that or you don't.
Mike, people with money keep money because they don't have that mentality about money that you're talking about, where they're like, oh, well, I'm super wealthy. They thinking like they think more like Avon Barksdale, like I want my corners.
Of course, but you know, Jay wasn't about to give up on his own stuff. If he had the access,
that would be. I mean,
people would say, you know what, that's business, right?
Leaving reasonable. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like you. I mean, we really talking about reasonable doubt at the end of the day. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. You traded Ye's 6 albums for reasonable doubt.
Pretty much.
It's like, damn, like you couldn't give them 2, 4, and 6 out of the catalog and some paper.
Well, you know what? I will say this, and I'm not excusing any of this. If we look back to Tidal's release, that was a big part of Tidal's pull, was the fact that Jay-Z actually had ownership of certain pieces of his catalog that he can make exclusive through Tidal. So he used that as a play, but I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what the terms were. I don't know if the people who sold it to him were like, this is the only way I'm taking this deal. And, you know, and that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, the person who actually owns the masters, they're in the driver's seat. I mean, you can come to me. If I own your masters, Ahmad, you can come to me all you want. Just like, you know, Mace is coming to Puff. I mean, I'm going to say no until I feel like saying yes, basically. You can offer me whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we're talking about people who are trying to negotiate with people who have way more money than them, too. You know, you're not out here, you know, buying and sharing goods. That's not what this is. Like, the super wealthy have these catalogs, and they keep these catalogs.
No. It's a business, you know, but it's like, you know, like I said, got to watch who you deify. What's the difference between them and Tommy Mottola and Clive Davis again?
Nothing.
Exploiting black culture? Nothing. Okay. No. Just so we're
clear. Well, I think that
I just want to make it clear, because it's like sometimes, no. This needs to get talked about on the level that's like, they get talked about like they've done nothing wrong to anybody and they're above and beyond reproach. And so what Kanye is really doing is being like, yeah, this game is so messed up that even the people who I think are great, who you think are great, will fuck you over at a drop of the dime about their own shit.
Your
favorite, hold on, Mike. Your favorite rap artist said it best. Rule number 4080. Industry people are shady.
Yeah. And I think that I don't feel like Kanye's an industry person. I feel like he's anti-industry. I think that clearly Puff and Jay are industry people, obviously. But that's just a part of that business.
He's
right?
very industrious. I mean, he may not be hip hop industry, but he's very industrious. Yes, Kanye.
Yeah, yeah. He's very industrious. I'm just saying, like, as far as like being a part of that brass of screwing artists over.
Thing?
Yeah, because pretty much the artists that deal with Kanye have never really voiced any issues, and when people want to go their own way, they go their own way. No one ever talks about Kanye keeping their publishing, having ownership in their publishing. I mean, even Sci-Hi, who doesn't get the notoriety that he should, and I feel like should be promoted on Kanye's Twitter from time to time, he doesn't even have a problem with Kanye. So, you know.
And so it's funny how Kanye's the crazy one, Mike. Isn't it funny?
It's always the crazy ones.
The crazy one.
It's always the crazy ones telling the truth.
Yeah. So I don't know who we got next week.
Well, yeah. Hopefully Westside Gunn's dropping next week. I mean, we'll be briefed up during the week, and something's coming. Griselda's been coming with something every single week. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Westside Gunn's shady debut.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Me too. I'm excited. I mean, they're on a roll.
They are on a roll.
Running the trap shit right now. So.
Well, another great show. You know, we had the little the delays or whatnot. We didn't figure out what that is so we could run a smooth show in that light. But we had a lot of people in the room today, and we're just gonna catch it up next week with whatever release it is or whatever news it is. So, shout out to everybody. Appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna holler at you next time, bro.
All the time, brother. Enjoy your weekend. We'll chat soon.
You too.
Shout out to everybody out there. One love, everybody.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yeah.